Carlos Santos is a Puerto Rican actor and comedian who is presently starring in the hit Netflix series Gentefied. Executive produced by America Ferrara, the series is about a Latino family in the East LA neighborhood of Boyle Heights. You may also know Carlos from the podcast Spanish Aqui Presents as the host of MTV's Meet TRL and as the Metro PCS man. He joins me to discuss his career path and what it's like to represent the Latinx community through his craft. Welcome, Carlos.
Hey, Brad, what's going on, man?
How are you? Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So you star in the Netflix series Gentrified. It premiered February 21st, 2020, and it's been renewed for a second season. So congratulations on that. What is Gentrified about?
Well, it's set in Boyle Heights, and it's called Gentrified because gentrification usually is about the process by which people from outside a community come in, put a lot of money into it, and they push the people that have categorically been a part of that community. And there's a process of erasure that obviously people fight against. Gentrification, which is a play on the words, it's from its own people. So what's ended up happening is that a lot of young people from the community have gone out to become professionals, but then they decide to come back and bring money in and bring new things and change things while still being a part of the community. So it's a very delicate balance. And so I think the show just kind of like gives you like a slice of life in terms of like the more personal aspect of what that looks like. And we're not really trying to have an answer specifically, but we're definitely trying to explore what that means.
Let's watch a trailer.
There's nothing gentrifiers hate more than being called gentrifiers. We're tapping into their biggest fear.
Brown lesbians.
White guilt.
Let's see what our new friends have to say on Yelp. Food 5 stars, ambiance 1.
Dile a esos cara de culo, que aquí está su ambiente.
We need a new approach.
I'll give you a brand new list of ingredients that we can try out, and it's gonna be great. People love discovering new things.
No, we've been here, fool.
You gotta go all the way to Paris to be a chef.
I'm gonna bag Michelin stars in Boyle Heights.
Estamos preocupados por Chris.
Chris is going to be fine. He can afford help like therapy or Whole Foods.
¿Qué dijiste, Whole Foods? Que te pasas toda la vida construyendo un negocio. Para que un pendejo te lo quite.
We're not gonna save the shop with a burrito. We're gonna save it with some changes.
¿Qué es esto?
Chicken tikka masala taco.
Esto no es comida mexicana. No es comida mexicana.
Oye, ¿tú estás seguro que es mexicano? I'm more Mexican than all y'all.
Now, the show is in Spanglish, but there's English subtitles too. So it's easy for non-Spanish speakers to follow the story as well.
It's mostly in English. What's special about this show is that it doesn't hold back. Our family, with just 3 cousins and our grandfather, that's basically the Morales family. The grandfather doesn't speak English, which is something that happens. The showrunners, Marvin and Linda, really took from their own life and a bunch of like experiences. And so like we had the opportunity to show what that meant, to be able to talk to my grandfather in the show in English, but have him only speak to us in Spanish. So we just didn't hold back, or we did that thing where you say something and then you repeat it in another language to make it easier. To have the most authentic expression of that meant that sometimes people just go off in Spanish if it made sense. But for the most part, my character speaks English. Like most of the show is in English. It's just not afraid to go to Spanish if it's organic and it means something to the scene.
Does that kind of hit home for you? Because I believe just, mostly, even in Puerto Rico, most of the older generations don't speak English and the younger generations do. So did that kind of hit home for you?
Absolutely. And like my nephews and nieces grew up in the US. Like I grew up in Puerto Rico, so I left after my freshman year of college. So I was able to just have my experience in Spanish while still learning English, because I was at an English school there for like a couple of years, but cable TV was a part of it. But I think it was different for me to be completely immersed in that and then come out to the States, while they definitely, you could see that it's a little bit different when you only have it at home, but everybody else speaks English.
Were you always a comedian growing up, even when you were little? Everyone said you were funny.
Yeah, I think I was blessed in that by the time I was 14, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I had no idea how I was going to do it, but I feel like I realized that I had an affinity to try to make people laugh from very early on. I was trying to figure out what that was, like comedy, try to make people laugh, trying to get a positive reaction out of people. And then I was like, oh, I think this is a career choice. Maybe this could be a job.
Now, I mean, you really chased your dream, because originally I understand you were going to be an engineer.
The reason I got into engineering was literally because my friend told me computer engineering is actually, you make a lot of money. And I was like, all right. But literally, like me and math, we do not get along. To make a career out of that would have been so funny. I just did it for my freshman year when you're not really going into engineering. I ended up switching over to theater arts. So I went in the exchange program. I went to Fresno State, and that first semester, I ended up doing everything that had nothing to do with engineering. I ended up taking acting classes, singing classes. I did everything that I wanted to do, like, for me, I was more like a life training. And by the end of that year, I ended up switching over to theater arts, and I ended up graduating.
After college, you moved to LA. Tell me what it was like.
I was just happy to be pursuing this thing. I feel like that alone fueled me for so many years at the beginning. And I was lucky too, because by the time I moved to LA, within a month, I was auditioning for hosting. I took a detour into hosting. I ended up working first at a local television station here in LA called LA TV. And eventually that's how I got the experience to audition for MTV Tres. Right. And then I moved to New York and I did that for 4 years. So altogether, I hosted for like 7 years. My struggle came after I decided I was going to stop hosting, because I realized that that's not what was fulfilling. It wasn't for me. I wanted to focus as an actor and as a comedian. And so I had to make a choice. And that choice took money from me, because
you gave up a good gig.
Did not take hosting jobs. So for 2 years, I was broke. But it was a sacrifice that I realized that I needed to take. I feel like, especially as minorities, sometimes you get pigeonholed and it's hard to shake it off. So I realized that if I just kept doing hosting stuff, that's the only thing that I was going to be seen as. And so, it took a while. But now I feel like those decisions and those sacrifices that I made 10 years ago now are seeing the fruits of that with Gentefied.
Were there times when you woke up and you said, maybe I should not have given it up, or you knew this is what you always wanted?
There's never been any regret. And while I remember, I think 2012 was the toughest year for me. A lot of things happened in my life that were unfortunate. Like my dad passed away. I was most financially stressed that I've been in my life, and a bunch of other things happened. But there was never a time where I was like, I should go host.
When was it that you figured out this is paying off?
So for me, having financial freedom was the first thing that I wanted to do. And thankfully, I was able to do that when I got Metro PCS, which was literally at the beginning of 2013. So that was the beginning of being able to say, okay, now that I am financially stable, now I can start focusing on the stuff that I want, because I don't have to worry about how I'm going to pay for my bills or my rent. I'm not going to be home. So now that this is good, now let me focus on, and so I was able to reconnect with UCB, the Upright Citizens Brigade. I started doing comedy again. I took more focus into the improv and the sketch. I've always done stand-up over the years, but it's kind of been seasonal for me. But I think UCB was a really great place for me to go and just continue to sharpen those skills.
You play the trained chef cousin, Chris Morales. Can you tell us a little bit about that character?
The character of Chris is very interesting. I mean, they call him Coconut, which is, to tell you everything you need to know about the character. His parents moved him to Idaho when he was younger. So he got to have his formative years. So he was very much acclimated into more of white culture than his cousins in Boyle Heights. So when he comes back, he's just searching for acceptance, and he's searching to be a part of something while still battling the fact that people don't accept him. And so when he was in Idaho, he felt he was pushed away because he wasn't white enough, that whole deal. So it's like an existential crisis kind of a situation. At the same time, he's still following his dreams, which in the show is to be, to go to France and, be a Michelin starred chef.
Do you struggle yourself between the two different cultures?
I mean, at this point, I'm kind of surfing. I'm surfing because I've been doing it for so long. It doesn't feel foreign to me playing the character of Chris. It feels right at home. It really does.
What is it like working with America Ferrara?
Fantastic. She's great. And the good thing is it's good to have directors that are either very comfortable with actors or know what it feels like. She always made it very comfortable, and she always made sure that all the actors were taken care of. I was really happy that I got to do the 2 episodes where my character went through the most in the series with her.
It shines a light, Gentefied, on many different issues. Without giving too much away, can you give us a little bit about what you're trying to get at, what is relevant to the Hispanic community?
It's a delicate balance of upgrading to a certain degree, upgrading the way people live in a place while still not erasing the culture. Putting it in those personal terms, I think it opens it up for discussion. And the good thing about the show is that it really keeps it real. These are experiences that actually are affecting us. And I think that's why it's elevated for some people. It really touched people's souls. The show really resonated with a lot of people because we're truly diving into a lot of the things that are happening in these communities.
Do you miss doing your stand-up?
Yeah, the last show I did was at the Laugh Factory, literally a week before pandemic started.
Let's watch a clip of your stand-up.
And I don't mind telling people, about Puerto Rico, but sometimes I like to make stuff up just to see how people react. They're like, what part of Puerto Rico are you from? And I'll be like, I'm from jamón y queso. Spanish speakers? Okay, I like that. Awesome. Which is impossible, sir, that's looking at me with a weird face. Because I just said ham and cheese. Yeah, and we can't live in ham and cheese as much as we would all love to. You can't live it. And I'm tough, but I'm fair, because if somebody sincerely wants to know about Puerto Rico, I'll totally sit them down with Google and blow their mind with information. But if I say jamón y queso and you go, yeah, jamón y queso? Yeah. That sounds so familiar. And I know you're just being a...
All right, that's very funny. When you were hosting Meet TRL, you got to interview Alicia Keys, Beyonce, Ricky Martin. What was it like interviewing them? Were you starstruck?
I never really got starstruck with music celebrities. I think I would get most taken back when comedians or actors would come, mostly because it was a reminder that I was on the wrong side of it. But still, it was fantastic. I have a really great experience with Jennifer Lopez. In 1999, On the Six came out. It was the summer when the album came out. I went to like a record store in Puerto Rico to get it signed and take a picture with her, and we did all that thing. And like in 2007, she came onto the show, and so I was able to show her those pictures. It was very surreal because I did the Puerto Rican Day Parade for the first time through MTV3, and she came along. So it was like going from that to that. It was definitely like a whoa, crazy. Those kind of moments are really cool, but I never really got starstruck. I think it was very much like, let's get to work, let's do all these things. Like Steve Carell came one time and I got to do a sketch with him, which was an amazing experience. It was probably one of the best experiences for me to write a sketch that he got to do with me and Anne Hathaway. They were promoting Get Smart at the time. It was a sketch called Pedrito, the Inappropriate Intern, and it was just like an intern he was just like inappropriate. It was just saying things that were, they're talking. Once he realizes he thought that Steve Carell and Anne Hathaway, they spoke Spanish because he used to watch The Office, but like dubbed. It was fun. It was fun because I wrote it, they looked at it, and we shot it in one take, which meant that there was a lot of that was improvised. So, and he comes from Second City, which I did too. I did Second City when I first got to LA, the training conservatory. So it was just such an amazing experience to just play with somebody so good. Yeah, I always look back to that as one of like probably the touchstones of being at MTV3.
All the risks you took to follow your passions and your dreams, it all worked out. You have a recurring role on Gentefied, and you also have a very popular podcast, Spanish Aqui Presents. What's your podcast about?
While at UCB, I met up with these wonderful people that I continued to find myself playing with and finding that we had a lot of chemistry. Riza, Tony, and Oscar, really great improvisers and comedians in their own right, and actors as well. And so Riza ended up fighting for a show, like a live show. There hadn't been a live show at UCB with all Latinx people or talent on stage. So she fought for this show, and that's what Spanish Aqui Presents became. It became like a variety show for us to bring everybody that usually don't get, the people that don't get stage time for the most part. And then it gave us an opportunity to bring in people that we could interview and then also be able to do a little improv with. So we did that for 2 years before the pandemic stopped it. We had our 2-year anniversary in 2020, but we were able to transition into podcast. And so we started a podcast last year on Earwolf and Stitcher, and we haven't stopped.
Let's watch a clip. Tell us what we're going to be watching.
So this is what we used to do before that we started doing the podcast. This is a clip of an improv set that we did with actress Janine Mason from Roswell, New Mexico, which is basically, it starts right as we're doing the improv based on the interview. We talked to her for like 10, 15 minutes, and then we just do like a 20 to 30 minute improv set. And this is her based on her father and the way she was dealing with her father and playing a celebrity softball game. And like the first 2-3 minutes is us playing around with that idea. Hey, I understand you're big time now, right? You're the big time, and now they invited you to places like a celebrity softball game. Is that right?
See, Papi, yes. But you know what? It's like super chill. Like, you don't need to stress. No one makes it. It's like just for fun, for a fundraiser.
Let me tell you something, Janine. Baseball is never for fun. If it wasn't for my injury, I would be at the top of the game. I would be Alex Rodriguez.
It's really funny. Where can people follow you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at, of course, it's Carlos. On Twitter at it's Carlos Santos.
You do your own social media?
I do.
It's all your content.
All my content. The good thing is that I've always edited my own projects. Like even when I was at MTV, I taught myself how to edit when I was younger. Those skills that I did because I loved doing short films with my friends when I was in high school and then in college with my best friends from Puerto Rico, translated perfectly to producing segments and sketches when I moved on to MTV. So these skills that I've kind of done just for fun have turned into something very valuable for me. I used to be a computer. Now I do all of my editing on my phone, like video editing, posters, art, anything. I just do everything in my phone. So I'm just happy to stay up to date with the trends.
Carlos, thank you very much for coming on. I have one last question. Retro Live is about reaching your American dream. What is your American dream?
I am in the process of continually reaching my dreams in terms of my career. And as we move forward, I think the biggest American dream that I could think of is everyone having the privilege to not have to justify their existence. Everyone should be able to do that. I think that would be the perfect American dream, if we could all just be and be accepted.
Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate your time. Carlos,
thank you, Brad.
Watch Gentefied. Great show. Follow him on his podcast as well, Spanish Aqui Presents. Thanks for coming on, Carlos. I really appreciate it.
Later, brother.